Hey folks, this is Ardwulf. Welcome. We're going to start a new series today, and I have been talking about doing a new playthrough series. So what we have here is Beyond the Rhine by Multiman Publishing and the Gamers. This is part of the Operational Combat series, and it is actually what I am playing on Tuesday nights. We've been playing for some time, and as I think I've mentioned in some of the live streams, I think there's a significant puzzle to be cracked, especially by the Allies, especially by the Commonwealth, in the early turns of the game that I am assured there is a solution for. And the objective of this limited playthrough is going to be to find it. Now, those of you looking for OCS instructional series will not be entirely disappointed by this series because I'm going to explain some things as I go. But nevertheless, the notion here is to try out some different possibilities in the first few turns of the game. So I don't anticipate that we'll play more than somewhere between 3 and 5 turns, because that's when the decision is made, as it were, as to whether the Allies are actually going to succeed in capturing Antwerp and clearing the Scheldt estuary for any significant length of time. So this episode, we are just going to set the setup up. So I have here in front of me, I have the vassal module, and then off screen I have the rules, and we are going to go through that. Now, the initial setup, you might notice that these off-map boxes are all empty. That is because in the vassal module they are on this separate card, which I also have off screen, and I'll bring on screen as necessary. Now, an interesting thing about this particular vassal module is that we have to elect to command a specific side. So the first setup is the Allied side setup. So we will command the Allied side. And of course, I'm going to be doing both sides here. I'm going to be playing the Germans to the best of my ability, but it is the Allied side, and particularly the Commonwealth, that is particularly tricky here. So let's start looking at the scenario. And we're going to see that for the scenario, we're going to play Fall 44 Montgomery because it's really it's only the northern half that I'm particularly concerned about here. We can see that the Allies set up first. The first turn is an Allied turn, and we have set weather on the first turn. So let's take care of all that first. So we have the traditional OCS record track for turns and weather. So we will go here to pieces. And let's get this a little bigger because it's very difficult to deal with right here. And let's see here. A lot of these are for specific events. There are random events in Beyond the Rhine, and we will deal with those as we are able to. So we will put the turn marker on September. And we'll put the month marker. We'll put the month marker on September, and the turn marker on the 5th. And we will have ground conditions will be dry the first turn. I'm not 100% sure what this weird counter ghosting thing is with some modules, but it's something I've particularly noticed in OCS vassal modules. Now, most of the setup, the beauty of vassal, of course, is that if the module is good, then most or all of the setup will be done for us. But in this case, that's definitely not everything. All right, so we've got that done. We use the campaign stuff, so we'll look at that when the time comes. We are only using the north maps. We'll see if we look at the maps that there's this dividing line. This is the dividing line between the north part of the scenario and the south part of the scenario. And if we look at the entire map, this is a 4-map game on an actual table, so we're playing on 2 maps, and there's 2 maps to the south, basically. So let's zoom back in. And let's see what we need to set up for reinforcements or for initial placement and such. We actually have the Allied setup right here. The Allies set up first, and they have Guards Armored, which sets up within 1 hex of A2120. So let's take a look at that. The German setup is going to be the critical one here. The Allies do not have that much flexibility. 2121, which is right here. So they can set up within 1 hex of this. It doesn't appear to matter much, but I will put them there, the entire Guards Armored Division. And we'll worry about the unit marker versus the counters later. That's not something that I would feel particularly compelled to be worried by playing on Vassal. We have here one of the things that we notice with the physical pieces is that the colors between the British and Canadians are really exceptionally close. This is the 53rd, so this is a British unit, 53rd Infantry Division. This sets up within 1 hex of... Let's undo that. Within 1 hex of 2232. So the objective here for the British is going to be to get across this canal, get a foothold across this canal, and therefore be in a reasonable position to take Antwerp within a reasonable amount of time. Now, historically, that happened very early on here, and we need to clear Antwerp, and we need to clear the ports along this inland waterway, which is the Scheldt River estuary. At that point, then Antwerp becomes available as a port for us to use, and that results in a significant supply bonus for both Allied factions, the U.S. and the British and the Commonwealth, I should say. So 2232. 2232 is up here. 32 right here, within 1 hex over here. So there's very little point in, well, 1 hex. I can put them 1 hex farther ahead. That's kind of the best you can do with this British setup. 2728. 728 is right here. Within 1 hex, we have the 7th Armored Division. Again, this unit is almost certainly not going to approach Antwerp from this direction along this road. So 2728 is right here. We'll put it here instead. And we have some Americans here within one of 2135. There are some challenges with direct coordination between, and we'll get into all this as the series proceeds. There's some challenges with direct coordination between the Allied factions, of which there are 3, the Commonwealth, the Americans, and the French. Nevertheless, there needs to be some level of coordination because the idea, as I see it now, is going to be to put the Germans under pressure in more than one place. If you only put them under pressure, this is kind of what we did as the Allies in the tabletop game that we're playing, in one place around Antwerp, that enables the Germans to defend that more strongly than they defend other places, and it will be very hard to crack. Not impossible, but you have a timetable here. You really need to get Antwerp taken so that you can start clearing the estuary, and so that you can start working up this way to get these ports. And that's the challenge that we face right now. If you're interested in pictures of this, there's some on my Twitter feed, but it's early November in our tabletop game right now, and we still haven't taken Antwerp, which is kind of hoses the Allies fairly badly. So A2135, that's 21. I'll be back here. 2135. Is this 2135? It totally is. Within 1, these are all infantry and assorted units. We'll put them here. Stacking, we're not above stacking on this, are we? No. Stacking's not a particular concern this far back in the backfield. So within 2, let me make sure I got that right. Nope, I got that right. Within 2 of 1529, which is Mons right here. And we have here 2nd Armored and an infantry division and some other stuff. This we're going to need to break up a little bit. So let's pull this over here, this over here. The rest of it is 2nd Armored. 2nd Armored within 2. So where are we going to make the push with the Americans? Kind of looks like it's going to be in this area right here. I think the hinge where the Germans are here, but they're not going to be able to hold here. Realistically, they're going to need to get back behind this canal relatively quickly. And in our tabletop game, that's pretty much where they are. We've crossed the canal in a couple of places, but not enough. So within 2 hexes of Mons for second armored, and I don't think it makes a big difference, but we want to be able to get them up relatively quickly, so we'll put them here. They're going to drive up through Brussels, I think. Then the infantry division we will put here. And this looks like an anti-tank unit we'll put with the infantry division for now. We have A1119 and or A... Okay, so we got to look at the... let me show you this. So we've got these units. Let's take a look at this actual setup here. Set up units on map A as per 6.1. Okay, so we'll go back to 6.1. Do the American setup. All right. A1119 and or 1219. Okay, so that is actually how it reads. So 1119 or 1219. Those are going to be over here. So right over here, let's see what we have. We have this armored battalion, we have this anti-tank battalion, and we have elements of the, quite strong elements of the 3rd Armored Division. All right, so these are 1119 and or 1219. So they're going to go here. We'll put the armored division on the road for reasons that ought to be relatively obvious. And we'll put these 2 units here. That should be sufficient at the moment. And that concludes the Allied setup. Now over here in the offboard boxes, we have the German setup. Now, before we can get into this, we need to change sides. So in this module, we're going to go to Command and go to Command German side. I now command the German side. Do I command both sides now? I do. Let's resign from the Allied side to try and maintain some vague notion of fog of war. All right, so within 2 hexes of A3729 south of the Scheldt. Now that stuff's going to be over here. This stuff ends up... This terrain, by the way, is polder terrain. It is awful for getting into offensively. So A3729 is Breskens, the port of Breskens. So I guess we will put the supply in Breskens. And what do we have here? We've got an HQ, which I think we will keep in Breskens as well. And then we want to protect the approaches to Breskens, which are going to be along this road. You cannot attack with armor or move with motorized stuff into Polder. All right, so we've got some fairly nice high action rating units here. Mostly these are just infantry division breakdowns. All right, so we'll take this and we'll use this unit here within 2. This unit here, this unit here, and then this unit will be in Breskens proper. I'm going to keep the HQ on top just because that makes it easy to see where the supply is coming from. We also have 4 level 1 hedgehogs. Where do we want those to go? We definitely want one here. Again, we're gonna protect the approaches to Breskens. All right, and now we have within 13. This is the bulk of the German initial setup, and this is the challenge that we have to overcome here. I need to look in the setup and see what we are actually doing with this stuff. We obviously need to expand this considerably. All right. So within 13 of A3119 north of the Albert Canal. So what do we have? We've got a fairly nice anti-tank unit and 3 not amazing infantry units. We've got some Luftwaffe ground stuff. That is the Hermann Goering Regiment. And we've got these Ost units, which are generally fairly lousy. So let's see where we're going to put these. This needs to be within 13. Let's go to common here. All right, so within 13 of A3119, A3119 119 is within, okay, so it's within 13 of Antwerp. Now that's a huge radius that we can put this stuff on. So let's take a look. Let's pull this back over here and take a look at the best units, which are, these are pretty good, and then this is not bad. And again, within 13. And they need to be north of the Albert Canal. This is the Albert Canal, the major canal that runs through the area, and which represents a giant obstacle to the British at the moment. So we're going to put some fairly strong forces in a couple of places here. So let's start with this. What is actually in Antwerp proper right now? Not much. And it's actually a concern for the Germans if the Allies can just cross the canal on the first turn, eat the penalty. We have to put something else in that hex as well. So we will put this this in Herentals. We'll put this Luftwaffe unit in Antwerp just to beef it up some. We'll put this in Giel. And what else do we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that's legit. So we'll put this here. We have another one of these breakdowns, which we will put in this hex. And we have 3 of these relatively garbagey Ost units. We'll put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here in Giel. Herentals is a position that we would absolutely like to retain as the Germans, but it's kind of far from Antwerp. This hex is important, but it is separated from Antwerp by another smaller canal. So crossing right here is not astonishingly advantageous. So we'll see if this this disposition makes sense. If it does, the Germans are going to have to move stuff down to occupy this entire line across this canal in the first couple of turns. So I think what I'm actually going to do is take this unit and put it here in Brasschaat. That don't count on me for Dutch pronunciations. That's for sure. We've, of course, teased one of our players who is of Dutch ancestry ultimately about mispronouncing the names. But that is just our private source of amusement. So A3112 is, C3112 is Turnhout. So we need to put these within 2 of Turnhout. This is a quite strong infantry division, but quite beaten up infantry division. Nevertheless, we're going to need to get it on the canal as soon as possible. So within 2, I like that best because in the open terrain we can go in any number of places, and because it's leg movement, we can go into this woods as well. We have some units within 3 of A3033. 3033 is quite a ways back, actually. A3033. Actually, it's over here on the estuary. All right, so within 2, let me pull this down. Within 2 of 3033 of Tilt. Okay. Now, I think it's tempting as the Germans, because there's a Commonwealth reinforcements coming in along this edge, and I think it's tempting as the Germans to try to block that, but at the same time you can't hold that. I mean, look at this super exposed position right here. I may leave 1 unit here, but otherwise, and in fact, there's supply here too, which is fine, I guess. But there's probably no way for the Germans to get that supply out of there. And you don't want to just give it to the Allies. So let's see what we can do here. So we have within 2 of A3033. And what we have there are these 2 not amazing German infantry divisions. So how do we want to, as the Germans, how do we want to defend this? We can't really put anybody in Ghent. So I think we put 1 within 2 right here. And then we put the other within 2 here. Not sure I like that too much. But we can't put them behind the canal already. We could put them both here and blow them up behind this canal here. We're gonna be able to hold on to, as the Germans, we're gonna be able to hold on to some of these ports reasonably well. Yeah, I think I don't see a better option but this right here. The Allies are going to get the first turn too, so there's that. We have another Ost unit within 3 of A3033. It's within 3, not within 2. So we'll put this here. We'll put this here. Put them closer to where they need to go. These also go within 3 of A3033. So we'll put this Ost unit in Munster. And the role of this guy is basically going to be to die, but to block it and force the Allies to hopefully spend supply to neutralize it, but we'll see. We'll put within 3, we'll put this unit up here, I think, and he will probably pull back. We have some units within 2 hexes of A2929, which is Ghent. That actually works pretty well. We'll put this Luftwaffe unit in Ghent itself. And we'll put the division, again, this is within 2. I think we'll put the division up here. No, we'll put the division on this road because they're going to try and go up to Terneuzen. Again, don't count on my Dutch pronunciations. If that was German, that's probably how it'd be pronounced, but it's not. So we have some stuff within 2 hexes of 2814. 2814. And that's over here. Within 2 hexes. Okay, so this actually gives me more flexibility. So let's move this unit here. And we'll put this guy right in 2814. This is a more important position because it's a road and bridge crossing. I could put that in Giel instead, but it's more important to, I think we'll put, yeah, that looks good. Okay. There's quite a bit of German setup, by the way. The German setup that's not already taken care of by the module, so that's going to be the majority of the episode, really, is just getting through all this. There's quite a ways to go. We're looking for B2434. Now, map B is this map over here. And route 24 is down here. 34. All right. So this stuff goes within 1 hex of B2434. And I'll show you the setup card again. Also look at this. Holy cow. Okay. So we get more stuff. We'll get into all this. We pull alert battalions from the pool. I'll have to work out how that works in the module. And we pull the Festerplatz from the pool. So I'm at the point now where I feel reasonably comfortable doing playthrough content of OCS, which is great because I think there's a lot of room on YouTube for both playthrough content. Yeah, that's like a play-by-play style playthrough content and instructional content for OCS. So with B2434, where do we want to be here? Now, this is definitely not something we have to be hugely concerned about defending right this second. We'll put one of these infantry divisions just in the hex. Get this out of here. We'll put this Luftwaffe division in the hex, and we'll put this reduced strength infantry division on the road. Again, we have to make a choice here, and one hex doesn't make a big difference, but we're going to see how things develop. That being the point of this exercise, as to whether the Americans are going to try to mount a big push down here, which they should. It's my intention to, as the Americans, or whether we're going to need those reinforcements up here on the canal. It's my German plan, because this is the plan of our German player in the tabletop campaign, to concentrate on the defense of Antwerp without abandoning everything else. All right, A2029. We're back to map A. 2029. Ugh, okay. It's 2009, actually. That makes way more sense. So there's that. That's Hasselt right here. It's within 3 hexes. Now what we have here is some interesting stuff. I'll put this light unit. We'll put the supply in Hasselt directly, and we'll put this light tank unit there, and then the rest of what we have are elements of 10th Panzer and what looks like 9th Panzer. Is that right? Yep. Okay, so let's pull 9th out. Let's pull this HQ out. We have these 2 artillery units. We have to see how lines form here. We're going to put... I think we're going to put 9th SS Panzer in a position to support the southern flank here. So within 2 of Hasselt. So they'll go there. And then we'll do the other approach up here, so that 10th Panzer can support that. And then we'll look at putting the, looking at the artillery. We got some Nebelwerfers and some conventional artillery, neither of which are particularly strong. We'll just put those in Hasselt. And HQ, I think, will go over here. Everybody can basically draw from a detrainable hex. So that's one of the interesting features of Beyond the Rhine, is that unlike the Eastern Front OCS titles, where supply and supply lines and extenders are really a big concern, it's much less of a problem here. While you might need an extender at some point, you're not going to be utterly dependent on them as you are even in small OCS games, like Smolensk, for example, which I have played in, which is excellent. But you really need to understand how supply and supply extension works in that game in order for the German effort, at least, to not totally collapse. All right, so within A1705, the difference here is that we have a much more developed road net in Western Europe, and so there are detrainable hexes everywhere. 1705, not too far north. 1705 is Maastricht. Okay, so put the air base, I think, behind Maastricht, because why not? And we'll put the infantry division. Wait a minute, we have 2 units here. It is a reduced infantry division in Maastricht itself. Within one of A1617. 1617 is right here. We get some supply. We get it's just 2 tokens of supply. So where do we want that? Within 2 hexes. We could put it in Gembloux, but it's not strongly defended there. But we do have some units of 116th Panzer that can fill out that position. So let's talk that through. I guess the question to be asked is, how important is this road right here? Are we going to be able to hold it? The answer is no, not for more than a turn or 2. You notice here Wavre, which is, of course, where a major Napoleonic battle took place during the Waterloo campaign. A lot of the names on the map will actually be recognized by those familiar with the Waterloo campaign. So where do we want to put these units? Now, we can put the units anywhere. The real question is where we put the supply. Now, the Allies won't necessarily know where we put the supply, but... And it's only 2 tokens, so if they take that supply, it's not like that's the end of the world. It is, after all, 2 tokens. I guess we'll put the supply in Gembloux. Not sure there's a rule or even custom that dictates this, but I always put the supply on the bottom. And the HQ's on top where possible, although you should have a combat unit at the top of the stack in OCS. There is an actual rule to that effect, that an adjacent attacker can see the top combat capable, or the top attack capable unit. All right, so what do we got here in this other hex is a Nebelwerfer and some Fallschirmjäger breakdown unit. This is within 1 hex, so we don't have a ton of flexibility here. We'll put this unit here, and we'll put this unit in Gembloux, and the idea is going to be to try to get that supply out, or burn it somehow. Which, hey, we can burn one of those 2 tokens right here on this. I'd rather burn it than give it to the Allies. But I'd like to retain it, too. The German reinforcement, I should say, the German replacement and supply tables are relatively forgiving for the Germans in this game. 1535. This is B1535, so that's back here. All right, so that's within 1 hex of Aachen, and I'll pull it over because it's a big stack. All right, so we have an HQ. We have to figure out where these guys are going to go. I'll figure it out in a minute. We have some artillery. We have... particularly, we have some replacements. All right, so this is within 1 of Aachen. So we'll put the packs in the road hex behind Aachen. And because these have a 0 combat strength, we can't just leave them alone. So we'll put this machine gun with them. We're not really super concerned about defending Aachen this exact turn. We'll put let me get this out of the way. We'll put the supply in Aachen along with the HQ. How much supply is that? 8 supply, which is quite a bit. And since we can go within 1, we'll fill out some of these hexes here. We'll put the artillery in Aachen as well. That looks fine for now. I will put that knocking as well. Chances are excellent that these units largely will not be staying here, so... Okay, so we have some units within 1 hex of A1915, which is down here. You can see how much more flexibility the Germans have with their setup. But even so, it's not that much flexibility. This is elements of 1st SS Panzer. I think we'll put them here. That makes sense to me. All right, now, here's what's left. And we have to take a look at the rules on this setup. Let's go back to Fall 44. Free setup with any German units. 2 SPs, 2 truck points, a wagon point, a Panzer Division fuel marker. Okay, so in that case, where do we want these? Then we have to figure out where these go, because I've lost track of them somewhere. And we have 2 supply, 2 SPs. Okay. So, what do we have for supply in Antwerp? Nothing. Let me get... Alright, so I split the supply into 2 supply and 1 supply. We'll put this in Antwerp. We have supply in Hasselt already. I don't believe this to be a holdable position. We're going to end up retreating behind the Meuse. What do we have in Liège? But the Allies get the first move too, so we need at least something up here. So let me split the remaining point into 2 tokens, and we'll put 2 tokens in Namur. Maybe. That'll have to do, to be honest about it. And we'll probably put... We've got no supply in Maastricht. We have no supply in Liège. So we'll put the 2 tokens in Maastricht. Now, the trucks will be important as long as the weather holds. So where do we want the trucks? With the idea that we definitely want... I'm going to put probably not a bad idea to put both trucks in Aachen. So that they can cart this significant amount of supply around. Now, 8 SPs is not an enormous supply depot, but it's not nothing either. We need to we get this this wagon point as well. And what do we have down here? I'm a little bit tempted to put it up here, but I don't think we can realistically do that. I think we're going to put the wagon back down here somewhere in, say, Liège. Try and keep the counters stacked neatly. Now, we have to, the way I interpret this Panzer Division fuel is we have to nominate a Panzer Division to be fueled. And, of course, those will need to be Panzer Division units that are drawing supply from the same source. So what do we have for Panzer Divisions? First, checking the backfield to make sure there's nothing sitting in the back that I need to know about. Well, strictly in terms of maximizing fuel efficiency, I should assign it to 10th SS Panzer, because it's got 4 units that can apply to. And I'm thinking that's where it goes. I don't see another German Panzer Division. The alternatives would be 12th SS Panzer. Here's some pieces of 2nd SS Panzer down here. We have 3 units from 12th SS Panzer, but they're not as good. And I think we're just saying 10th SS Panzer. All right, so we need to figure out 176th Infantry Division, and this looks like rail artillery. German setup. So let's go back to 6-1 and look at the German setup here. And this is where we bust out find. So we got 176. Within 1 hex of 2434B. 2434B. Roermond right here. Okay, so the rail unit will need to go in Roermond proper because it can only move along the rail. The infantry division will go right here. All right, and we need Festerplatz. We need 3 Festerplatz. So the Festerplatz are a special fortification that is unique to Beyond the Rhine, and I have to figure out where German offboard boxes. Festerplatz. Okay, do not regular units back to pool. So what we need to do is draw multiple cards. So we need to draw 3. And they go in 5710. Put them over here for now. 5710, which is up here. So up here in Beverwijk, A4818, which is in Hoek van Holland. And 3526, which is over 3526, which is in Terneuzen. Okay, so the Festerplatz are like a combination of Hedgehog and combat units. So my initial notion that we were going to roll into Terneuzen with an allied motorized unit turns out to be not practical. So that is the initial setup for Beyond the Rhine. This is episode to the best of my ability to do it. And we may go through this multiple times, so you may in the long run see more than one turn one, more than one turn two, so on and so forth, as we work our way through this opening gambit, if you will, of Beyond the Rhine. So episode 1, which will be forthcoming soon, will be Allied turn 1 on September 5th, 1944, and we'll see what the Allies can actually get done. There are severe Allied constraints. The broad front rule, which is the sort of general Allied supply management rule, does not apply in this scenario because it's kind of built into the modification to the supply table that you do in this scenario, so we don't have to worry about that. That basically mandates that you can't send all of the American supply to one sector. You have to actually split it up in such a way that it's more or less evenly distributed. What is this supply dump? Allied software boxes. Well, we'll figure it out between turns. So this has been episode 0, setup of Beyond the Rhine, OCS. Please stay tuned for the next episode. Please subscribe to the channel if you are at all interested in this type of content. Like the video. If I have cocked anything up, please mention it in the comments below. It will be a couple of days before the next episode gets made, so I will have time to make adjustments should that be necessary. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time.